Hello, world. Patricia, O'Connor, and Frida, Reba, Darcy here. Today on the balcony, we're going to let's just talk about the weather. Talked about this yesterday. Uh, in the Bay, it's going to be pretty warm this weekend. And while that is Sunday already, but while they are calling for all these high temperatures, here in Alameda, our high is going to be about 75. Smidge warmer than that up here because I'm on the fourth floor. So that's no big deal for us. But just a few miles behind me, those guys are dealing with heat, and in the valley more so. What do you do about the heat? Yesterday, during the premiere, one of the people that was watching the premiere commented that Spain broke the record at 140 degrees. What would I do? What would I do if I had a 2-hour heads up that we were going to break 100? Even a 2-hour heads up, let alone if I knew on Friday that something was going to happen by this weekend, that's one thing. But with a 2-hour heads up, just get caught off guard. You look and you've noticed that it's warm. Maybe you look at the channel and you find out that you're in for some unseasonably hot temperatures, and here you are with all these trees. One time that happened last year. And I was in San Francisco for 3 hours for a doctor's appointment. And when I came back, it was 90, and this guy had wilted. It didn't shut down for the year, but we lost all the growth that it had. Not all, most of the growth that we had going. Everything pointed up, wilted and died. Everything pointed down was in shadow of the stuff pointed up and fared better. Wilted but came back. So yeah, there are things we could do about that. One, if we knew that we were into that, we might look in the morning and see whether or not that's our good time to water, or whether or not if we put that off an hour or two, whether or not we can use that watering as also a cooling down period. Now, we don't want to go without water when it's really hot, but if you're looking at it and you see that you've got a choice to do either, that might be one thing to think about. Another thing that you'd probably want to consider early on would be shade. Anything that you can put in the shade. Now we're talking about on that 100 degree, that 90 degree, that 100 degree day. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a 100-degree day. If you are in like what we are in the Bay and it's going to hit 90, these guys will freak right on out just like it's 100, because they don't see that sort of temperature much here. So it's all relative, right? Shade, like I said, would be a great help. Watching the bonsai zone last year, I believe, well, I watch all the time, but last year I believe it was Nigel pointed out that on extremely hot days, I think he may have put wet t-shirts, black t-shirts that were damp on the top that would absorb the heat and not reflect the heat, and that would give something else a chance to heat up instead of the ceramic pot. I think he also suggested aluminum foil, just putting aluminum foil on the top and letting that heat kick back. And that both sounds like good ideas. Cooling down the pot. Let's say that we've watered today, and now the temperatures are just shooting way up, and it's not so much that it needs If it needs water, water it again. Absolutely. If you get to water it again because it's hot, then by all means do that. But if you can't water again or if it's not going to do any good because your tree is still watered, but your ambient is just so high, cool the pot down. Wrap something that's wet and cool around the pot and keep cool water on it. If you were looking at some situation like what they were talking about that Spain got with some of that 40 degree heat, if with a 2 hours heads up that kind of heat would be possible, I would probably go to somewhere where I could buy a kiddie pool, a plastic pool that's about 6 feet across. You can kind of fold it up and carry it on the bus if you had to, or carry it, throw it in your trunk. We sell them at the hardware store. They're not even 15, 20 bucks. It's just something that kids can, something that I thought, oh, my dog would love that. Set it up. It's a plastic pool. It's almost as shallow. It's almost the same material as some of the plastic pots. But I would probably take one of those, set it right in there where Frida is now. Yeah, picture her sitting in a kiddie pool. Then I would put some water and some ice in that, and then I would take my bonsai trees and I would put their pots in plastic bags and wrap the plastic bags up around the trunk. The idea is I'm not wanting to flood or get the substrate wet with ice water, but I am wanting to chill those pots down. I think with the top of the tree in bazillion degree heat and those pots down there in cooler water, that would probably go a long way towards getting an average on the tree that's more sustainable. Some of my other trees I don't think will care. I don't think, for instance, my cork bark oak cares how hot it gets as long as it's watered. The cypress trees, they can take a lot of heat, but their foliage is not beyond getting wrecked if you're looking at a super hot day and they drink up all their water. So I'm kind of thinking about the things that I used to have to worry about when I grew perennials in places like Atlanta or the Texas Gulf Coast. Things that we would have to do to try to save our plants. It's not like you have to save them from that heat every day of their existence necessarily, but sometimes we have these heat spikes, and just because I live in a place that I consider to be pretty hospitable, that doesn't mean I'm immune. And that's just kind of me thinking a little bit about staggering your watering so that your watering can be done at a time when it will best benefit the cool down of the tree. Cooling down the roots with water is a great way to cool down the entire tree. Also watering, there's all kind of things wrong with just hosing down your tree at certain types of climates and certain times of year. But if given a choice between powdery mildew and killing your tree with heat, hose that son of a gun down and dare it to get powdery mildew or something would be my attitude about that. And also it takes a lot longer to kill a tree by overwatering it than it does underwatering it. It takes a couple of days to weeks to overwater one to death. It only takes a day to underwater one to death when it's super hot. So, or when it's just underwatered that bad. So that's things to keep in mind. You can use water as your radiator, as your coolant. You can wrap towels around. You can try to take the direct sun off the base or off the parts of the trees where they're getting the most direct sun. You know, in other words, you can deflect the sun. You can take them out of the sun. You can put them under. You can put them under patio umbrellas. You can put them in a kiddie pool and put cool water and bags of ice in there. I would just put the pots in plastic bags so that they don't actually get watered with ice water. Um, the point is to not shock them, but we want to just try to cool the pots, and then by virtue cool the roots. And if we're cooling the roots, if we're chilling the roots, then everything else that should probably help our overall ambient temperature. So that's just kind of, this is a short, and those are my notes on the few of the things that I would do, or the few of the things I'll be thinking about the next time. Also, since it is summer, and since it does happen, maybe be proactive. Now, this is me talking to myself, really. I'm used to this being kind of nice here. I don't always watch my weather. I tend to make sure to see whether or not I need an umbrella when I'm going to work. And that's just, other than that, I tend not to worry about the weather much. I should probably, since it is July, and here in the Bay Area, our heat historically shoots up in October. So just getting past August doesn't take us out of the woods. A lot of times San Francisco or Bay Area hangs out at 60, 70 degrees like it never was summer, and then all of a sudden October rolls in here and it bakes. So being more proactive and making a habit out of making sure that I know what's up weather-wise might save me from having a hot foot at home at lunch, and also being open to the idea and checking with if you can on a super hot day, if you work, can you go home at work and check on everybody? That's my lunches are 30 minutes, and I think it would take me 20 of that to get here and back. But I don't think they would. I don't think they would begrudge me 10 minutes if I wanted to stick my head in the door and say hey to these guys. And that's certainly better than feeling worried about them all day. So that's just kind of stuff I think about on my end. That's just it. That's about all I got on how to cool our jets. If you can cool your roots, you can do a lot towards the ambient temperature on the rest of it. I've also seen people put towels and lightweight things in the branches to flag the sun off the base of the trees, providing cool, damp shade. But I don't want to, you got to watch out that you don't break or bend anything up too much. And also, you don't want to throw in anything into shock by trying to ice down something that's 1,000,000,000,000 degrees. Like, for instance, I wouldn't pour ice water on a tree that's underwatered and needs water. I would probably water it and then bring the ambient down a little, and then do what I was saying about maybe trying to cool down the pot with ice water in a plastic bag or something, more so than throwing ice water on the roots. Although I have heard people do that. They actually chill water for some plants. I don't know that I would do that for bonsai trees. I don't know how that would work out. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. We'll do a post probably a little later on some more of our little projects we have going. I appreciate you, and Frida appreciates you. It's a beautiful, pretty low-key Sunday here on the balcony, and we really are enjoying this weather and our day off. And thank you so much for watching.